Yeah, what's going on, dudes? It's Atch here, hope everyone is okay. So, this is Motovlog number 2, the second Motovlog. So, we do actually have something to talk about in this one. The first one, it was just kind of rambling away, getting used to motovlogging, which, yeah, still not used to it. But this one is about the Mod 1. We sat our Mod 1 a few days ago. With the current situation that's going on in the world, you know, this whole coronavirus, it was going to be really hard to get a reset. It was going to be really hard to get a reset. Yeah, I got to pass this, or it could potentially be months and months and months before I get another shot at it. But it's all good, dudes. We passed our Mod 1, and we passed with no faults either. So that was just the icing on the cake. So perfect pass. So I'm more than happy with that. So I thought, what I'd do is I'll just talk about the Mod 1 a little bit. What's involved, what it's like, what you expect to happen on the day, you know, that sort of stuff. So for your Mod 1, you obviously need to have your CBT and your theory test completed before you can... I think you need to have it done before you can even book it, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I do know that you do need to have CBT and theory test completed before you can sit it. So they always advise you to turn up early. It's not because there's a lot to do, it's just to keep things flowing, I guess. My Mod 1 was at 9:40 because it was in Glasgow, and you know, it's not far, but just because of the time and stuff, I left really early just to kind of beat the traffic, and I got there about an hour before, so I was way early. But the school that I'm training with, there was 2 other guys in front of me to do their Mod 1, so there was a wee bit of waiting about, but I did get taken long before 9:40, which was cool. But of course, the bad thing about turning up that early is the anticipation starts to build, doesn't it? So I've got 2 guys in front of me, 2 guys that I know who are sitting in Mod 1. One passed and one failed. Oh my god, that really got my nerves going a wee bit. So the guy that failed, I'm pretty sure he locked his rear brake. I'm sure it was something like that, so oh man, I felt so bad for the guy. So yeah, so when you go and do your Mod 1, your little examiner will come out. So he'll call your name, go over your paperwork, make sure you've got all the right documents with you. You'd have to take your driver's licence, your CBT certificate and your theory certificate. A few signatures and then out you go. So the great thing about the current times that we live in, YouTube is your friend, alright? Not just for your Mod 1, but for your Mod 2 as well. YouTube is absolutely your friend, alright? It's because the actual layout of the cones, if you don't know what you're looking at, when you look at the cones, it looks confusing as you know, you're just like, what the hell am I looking at? Because the area that we practice in, it wasn't the same size as the actual test area. It was a lot smaller, so you couldn't do like the whole Mod 1 in one sitting. You had to kind of do like a mini version of it, which is fine. But once you get to the test centre, your examiner has like a clipboard with a kind of map of the cones. He tells you what direction they go, all that sort of stuff. So it's fairly easy to see on the map that he shows you. But if you go into YouTube, you will get people who's recorded their full Mod 1 tests, and schools that record full Mod 1 tests, so you know the layout of the cones and the way the exercises work. So the Mod 1 itself, it only lasts like 10 minutes. It's not a long test, maybe not even as long as 10 minutes. I mean, when I done mine, it felt like probably about 2 minutes. That's the honest truth. It only felt like I was out for about 2 minutes. But I think it's about 7 or 8 minutes roughly. And you've got to make sure that whatever you do, you have to treat it as you were out on the road. So if you've got to move at all, shoulder checks, you know, lifesaver left and right. Even if you're just moving 2 feet, shoulder check. Make sure you've got those shoulder checks in every possible time you can use them, because you're only allowed 5 minors, so that's not a lot. It's not a lot. That's very, very easy. So there is instant fail situations, as far as I'm aware. The instant fail situations is you put your foot down. Obviously you can put your foot down when the bike's not moving, obviously, but if you're moving, say doing a U-turn, figure 8, slalom, whatever, you put your foot down, it's a fail, because you've proved that you don't have control of the bike. If you hit any of the cones, it's also an instant fail, because that's the same as hitting a car or a curb or something. And also if you lock any of the wheels in the emergency brake, although it's an emergency brake, it is a controlled stop. It's a fast controlled stop, basically. You know, well, a controlled stop is you just coming to a controlled stop. You know, no speed involved, no major techniques involved. You're just showing that you can bring the bike to a controlled stop. But whereas with the emergency brake, you have to go through the speed trap, and the examiner will basically lift his hand, and you have to apply the front brake, obviously off the throttle first, apply the front brakes gradually till the bike comes to a stop. You can kind of hover over the back brake, and I suppose you could kind of use it a wee bit if you weren't stopping quick enough, but I didn't use it because I got freaked out by the guy that locked his rear wheel just before me. So I didn't use the back brake, I just used the front brake and it was fine. So yeah, so that's the things that you can potentially fail on. When you go in, he'll ask you to stop in front of a gate, he'll open the gate, and in fact, even when you just get on the bike, when you first get on the bike and he asks you to move up to the gate, that's the test officially started. So even though you're not in the actual test area, he's watching everything you do. Alright, so the moment you sit on that bike for the first time, the test started. So when you move up to the gate, shoulder check, shoulder checks I should say. And then you'll stop at the gate, he'll open it, he'll ask you to move in and wait behind either a yellow line or just on the inside of the gate. When you move off again, shoulder checks. It is constant shoulder checks. So once you're in, he'll shut the gate behind you, and then you're locked in. So once you're in and locked in, he'll then ask to park inside one of the green boxes. That's you then onto the manual handle, and he'll ask you to jump off the bike, make the bike secure, jump off the bike, and then you'll have to move the bike from one green box to the other, all the time doing your shoulder checks, because there could be passing cars or whatever. So do your shoulder checks, move it round, stop it in the opposite green box. He'll come over and he'll tell you to jump on the bike. So once you've done that, it's the start of the slalom and the figure of 8. If there's one tip I could give you about the slalom and the figure of 8, people think that it's going to be a lot easier going slow. It's not, trust me. Don't be scared to go a little bit faster. I'm talking like 1 or 2 miles per hour faster than what you're going. When I first started doing it, I was doing like 2 or 3 miles an hour. And it just felt awkward, and my instructor was like, ramp it up a wee bit, all you need is an extra 2 or 3 miles an hour on top of that. So that's what I did, and it made the bike feel so much easier to control for some reason. So anyway, that's the figure 8, that's the slalom. You're supposed to do 2 complete circuits of the figure of 8, but when he waves you over, he'll tell you to pull up beside him, and then he'll tell you what to do next, which is a slow control. So basically treat it as if you were on a public road again. You're kind of aiming for pretty much walking pace. The examiner will walk, I think he walked in front of me, I can't remember, I'm sure he was to my left and in front of me. So he'll walk, and he'll be at a walking pace, and that's the pace you've got to kind of match. It's fairly easy, just a wee bit of practice, with your instructor, and it's not too hard. It's just about clutch control and not, having the bike screaming its head off, and you'll be alright. So you stop in the box and then the U-turn. So again, I was surprised how big the area at the test centre was for the U-turn. Once we got up to the test centre, in fact the day before my test, I had another little lesson just to go over everything. And it was then that we found out that things like the U-turn and that, although it is roughly about 3 bays, it's about a quarter of a bay wider. So you've got about an extra foot or so. So when we got out there and I went to do my U-turn and I looked at the size of the area, I was like, holy dude, I got this. So yeah, it was no problem. I think you can fail the U-turn if you go over the lines, because there's no cones or anything, it's just two lines. So I think if you go over them, it would be a fail. I don't think it's a minor, I think it's a fail. Don't quote me on that, I might be wrong, but I'm sure that's what it is. But anyway, once you get your U-turn done, you'll stop at the opposite side on the opposite line, and then he'll tell you that's the end of the slow manoeuvres, and then you can kind of relax a wee bit, because the slow manoeuvres is probably more likely, what I've found anyways, where you're going to fail, and you've got more chances to hit cones or put your foot down or whatever. He'll tell you it's the start of the faster movements, or whatever it was he said, I can't remember. He'll ask you to go up and round the circuit, and then he'll tell you what cones you have to come down. You come down through a bunch of cones, and then the first exercise is the controlled stop. So there's no speed getting measured, but I would use this as a little test. So because when you go through the cones, through the speed trap, all you're doing is going straight on. There's no swerving, there's no braking. So what I did is when I went through the cones, I had a wee look down at my speedo and I saw that I was doing 25. I was doing 25 miles an hour. So the next two exercises, you've got the emergency stop and then you have the hazard avoidance, which is where you have to swerve. So the emergency stop and the hazard avoidance, you both have to be doing, it's like a minimum of 31, 32, I can't really remember what it is. It's above 30 anyway, I know that, it's definitely above 30. I mean, rather than try to look at the speedo when you're doing the emergency stop and the hazard avoidance, I tried doing that when I was training and it's really difficult. You know, you're better focusing on where you're going, you know, rather than try to do that. So I just used the engine, just listen to the engine, alright? So I know what it sounded like when I was doing 25, so all I did is when I heard the same engine rev, I just cranked it on a wee bit. You know, you don't want to go too fast obviously because there is restrictions. So I just opened up a wee bit more and my speed for the emergency stop was 51 kilometres an hour. So that was fine, and my speed for the hazard avoidance was 53 kilometres an hour. So I was in pretty much the target speed zone, so I was fine with that. So the best advice I can give for the emergency brake and the hazard avoidance, as soon as you've went through the speed trap, when I say the speed trap, what I'm talking about is there's 4 cones that you have to pass through. And there's a speedometer thing on either side of the cones, and it tracks your speed. And the examiner has a little Bluetooth wireless thing on his chest, and he can see what it says. So when you go through that for the emergency stop, as soon as you go through it, off the throttle, even if he's not raised his hand, all right, it will make it easier to stop. Don't keep the throttle on until he raises his hand, because it might be a bit too late, alright? So as soon as you get through the cones, don't just dip off the throttle. And then when he raises his hands, you know, onto the brakes, you come into a stop and then clutch in. With the emergency brake, don't worry about switching down to first, you know, like when you're doing a controlled stop or whatever. Just before you stop, you'd switch it down into first. Don't worry about doing that in emergency brake. Just stop, pull the clutch in, whatever gear you're in. When he calls you forward, put it into gear, do your checks and then move off again. And the same thing with the hazard avoidance. Obviously, the hazard avoidance, you have to stop in a certain area. So when you go through the speed trap, again, off the throttle because you've been through the speed trap, you're not going to get measured anymore, and then swerve round the cone. Nice and simple, but obviously don't start braking until the bike's completely upright again. Round the cone, as soon as you straightened up, on the brakes. Nice controlled stop into the box, and then that's it. And then he'll say, make your way over to the gate or whatever. Even though he said, you know, that's the test finished, move your way over the gate, keep on with the checks. Check over at the gate. He'll open the gate, he'll ask you to move out, check, you know, constant checks. If he does ask you to stop the other side of the gate, he didn't with me, but if he does ask you to stop, and then when he asks you to move on, check. Constant checks. Then you'll pull up in your little parking bay, and then that's the end of the test. So when you start the test, you've got your manual handling, which is moving the bike from one box to another. You have the slalom onto the figure of 8. The figure of 8 then moves on to slow control. The slow control then stops in the box, which is the start of the U-turn. You do your U-turn, and then that's the start of the faster test. So you go up round the circuit, which is the first one is the controlled stop, so there's no speed to get measured, but use it as a little test. Like I said, check your speed, listen to the engine, you know, don't try and watch your speedo because it can you up. He'll then ask you to turn about, right? So this is something which is really important. What he'll do is, after each fast manoeuvre, i.e. like when you do the controlled stop, you're essentially stopping in the box where you started the U-turn. What he'll then do is he'll ask you to turn the bike around so it's facing the opposite direction. Do not attempt another U-turn, alright? Do not attempt another U-turn. There's no much point up at this stage, alright? When he says turn the bike around, he will tell you take as much room as you need. It does not matter if you go over the white lines for the U-turn box. Just don't make sure you don't hit any cones. So take as much room, take a nice big wide circle. You know, don't try and be smart and get another U-turn in there and thinking that, oh, I can do these no problem. Because if you accidentally that up, you've just up your test for no reason. Okay, so he'll tell you to turn about, take as much room, alright? But again, when you move off to turn around, check. When you stop again, it'll be the emergency brake. Same thing, check, round, through the speed trap, do your emergency brake. And the same thing again, except this time it's the hazard avoidance. Remember to do all your checks, take plenty of room when you're turning about, and you'll be absolutely fine. What I did, and it's something I'm going to do in my Mod 2 as well, because it really helped, is just talk to yourself. Talk to yourself, alright? Tell yourself what you're doing, what you got to do next, all that sort of stuff. So when you're doing like the slalom, just talk to yourself, you know, you're in and out the cones, watching your speed, you know, you're doing your figure of 8, you know, say with your U-turn. So that's what worked for me, so I was talking to myself through my U-turn. I don't know if the examiner could hear me or not. So yeah, just talk to yourself through it. You know, what you're doing, what you've learnt, what your instructor said. You know, don't think about, I've got the emergency brake next, or I've got the slalom next, or whatever, or the U-turn, because then that's putting you off what you're currently doing. But yeah, if you do have your Mod 1 coming up, good luck, hopefully you get past it. And next up, we have Mod 2. We've got Mod 2 soon. Oh, so far, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the Mod 2, obviously because of the current situation in the world, you know, with this coronavirus. There is a strong possibility that it could get cancelled. I don't know, I'm still waiting to hear. I mean, it's in a couple of weeks, so I don't know. They're still open just now. There was no mention of them closing when I done my Mod 1, so I don't know. So any other videos we've got up until Mod 2 is going to be just some Mod 2 stuff. I don't think it'll be out on the road with my examiner, because we have a two-way radio system, we can talk to each other. Yeah, it would just up audio and but I might record it, I suppose. I can maybe record it on my GoPro and then do kind of voiceover. I don't know, I'll wait and see. But I'll probably do some stuff just myself out in my wee 125, you know, just going over road position, you know, junctions, left, right turns, roundabouts, all that sort of stuff. Just making sure that I've got it, so then I can look back when I'm editing it and going, yeah, okay, I'm happy enough with that. I mean, I know what I've got to do in my head, but I'd like to look back as well at the footage and see that I'm in the right position and I'm doing making sure that the speed's right, you know, I was indicating at the right time, all that sort of stuff. So we've got plenty to do. But anyway, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you found something helpful if you are practicing for your Mod 1. Hopefully you found something helpful. I mean, it can be a wee bit confusing when you first start, but after the first lesson, you'll understand the test route and But anyway, dudes, hopefully you've enjoyed this, hopefully you found something helpful, and if you did like the video, give it a wee thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, guys. If you feel like watching some more of my videos, why not hit that subscribe button. But anyway, guys, take it easy. I'll see you all next time.